103.2 Dublin City FM. This is Mental Wealth with Brian Greene. Good afternoon. And this isn't a repeat. This is a live new programme from myself. It's been a while. It's been an absolute age. And Tá Browner, I'm sorry, it's been so long since I've been here. We are in different times. This is an unusual place. And I did want to pop in and say hello and check on you and see that everybody is minding their mental health. The government have a website if you're interested in looking after your mental health. It's gov.ie/together, and there they have some resources and information for you and your mental health. But how have you been doing with all the cocooning and the staying in and not going out and no meeting people and doing your social distancing? It is taxing because we are not used to it. And we are creatures of habit, and we are used to routine. And when the routine is changed, and particularly when the change is forced upon you and you didn't get a choice, and you didn't get, in many cases, much warning, and you might feel that it's unfair that what has been imposed on us. A lot of people reason with the fact as to why it was brought in and understand that we're beating the daylights out of this virus, and we're trying to slow it down. We may get it at some stage, but what we're trying to do is slow it down so that the health service can deal with the people they receive in the early stages, so that they can keep dealing with the people they receive at any particular time. So if it's a couple of weeks or months and then you get it, at least you didn't get it when everybody else got it at a big kind of peak and they weren't able to look after us in hospital. So we can understand that, but we need to look after our mental health. So may I recommend that while our routines are interrupted, it's routine that we need to put back into the place. And if you can have routine within your lockdown, within your isolation, within your social distancing, if you build a routine, it is one of the best pieces of advice that anybody could give to give yourself some kind of areas that you can always return to and say, you know, it's 12 o'clock, I'm putting my feet up. It's 3 o'clock, I'm walking around the garden. Whatever it is, do look after your mental health, folks. Today on the programme, I'm talking to somebody we had on the show before, and we're returning to the topic of sleep. And I began by asking my guest what they're up to in these moments. The guest is Joanne Callaghan from joannecallaghan.com, and she is, if you want to know anything about getting a good night's sleep in this era or any era, Joanne's the person. So what's Joanne been up to recently?
Oh, God. Well, at the moment, obviously, one of the prime concerns is keeping the immune system really strong. And it's a concern a lot of people are having at the moment with this virus going around. So what I'm up to now is I have a 7-day sleep video series, Boost Your Immune System with Better Sleep. And it's doing really, really well. And, in the video series, it's looking at not only just your sleep, because sleep has a profound impact on our immune system, but the gut health, our mental health, everything. It's all holistic.
And it's kind of natural and free. If we can sort out our sleep, it will kick in our immunity. Is that what happens?
Yeah, well, our immune system relies so much on our sleep, particularly our deep sleep. And really, we have most of our deep sleep in the first half of the night. And studies have shown that, during the nighttime when we're sleeping, a deep phase of sleep, it produces all the cytokines and the antibodies and our T cells, which is our killer cells. So just quite an awful lot. And there is studies show that, if you have 5 hours of sleep or less in any one night, it can really decrease or suppress your immune system by up to 60 or 70%. So that's quite profound.
You have all the science words. People won't have to really learn them, will they? They just need to get good practice. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. It's just all about getting into a good habit. But really, really what I find is that if people have an appreciation for sleep, if people have a new view or a new perspective on sleep and how it can have an impact on your health and your well-being, on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, and for your immune system, obviously, it's the physical part. But when people have a different perspective, they'll start to value sleep, and then they'll start to prioritize sleep. So that's really what my aim is.
And at the beginning, do most people value their sleep at all?
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of people that are abusing. Actually, human beings are the only species who deliberately deprive themselves of sleep. Like we stay up late at night time and, till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we're getting up early for work. And now at the moment with the current climate, we're binging on Netflix and we're drinking alcohol and wine, and, we're just really abusing our bodies and not allowing our bodies to get into that circadian rhythm, that cycle, that normal cycle that we're supposed to be, involved in. So, yeah.
This is something we spend 1/3 of our life doing, and we don't look after it.
It's massive, isn't it? Like 1/3 when you think about it, so there has to be something really profound about sleep if we are sleeping for 1/3 of our lives. And it really is something not to be overlooked.
And what at the beginning could people do? Do they need to kind of look inward and say, what are you doing to yourself? Or what, do you have to be kind to yourself to look into this? Where do you start?
Well, there's a couple of things that I could say there. So really it's about how we are during the daytime as well, because, there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of busyness in our lives. Before the virus came out, we were rushing to our jobs and we were working as much as we could. Even for the entrepreneur, they're trying to get as many hours of work in as they could. They're staying up late at nighttime. So we need to change how we are managing our daily lives and, be able to reduce the stress, because we're actually going to bed wired and tired. So the first thing really is to be able to reduce our stress during the daytime. So whatever that is for you that, enables you to slow down. It could be we're not taking enough breaks, and some people see it as a form of laziness, or you're messing on the job type of thing. If you're taking breaks, whereas it's really vital to take a break. The body needs a break.
And exercise during the day is something that we probably don't do enough of. That's going to help us get that good sleep.
Yeah, exercise is really important, and, exercising first thing in the morning is great, getting out, getting that sunshine. Sunshine helps to really set their circadian rhythm again, helping to reset all the biological clocks in the body. And, but the one thing about exercise is it produces all these endorphins and, serotonin. And serotonin is a hormone that we do need to help us with our sleep hormones. It's a precursor for melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. So exercise does an awful lot of things. It helps to reduce stress as well, all that pent up energy, and it really makes you feel good during the daytime. So exercise is super important.
So people need to maybe get, you said something habitual, a habit, like a routine of a good, healthy daytime before we start even looking at night. And we'll recap that's on the activities that you do exercise-wise. And the other one, remind me, was?
The exercise and reduce your stress.
Take the breaks. Yeah.
Oh, the breaks. Super important. Yeah, super important. And, it could be, what I like to do is every hour, take like a 2 to 3 minute break, right? That's for starters. That's just a very small break. And because like for me now, for example, I'd be on my laptop quite an awful lot. So it's super important that I come away from it. But also, notice when your body is tired during the afternoon between 1 and 3 o'clock. That's normally the slump that we have as normal. It's normal. And to recognize that it's not because we're eating a meal or a lunch or anything, it's a normal slowdown that the body naturally has. So recognize that. And, we do have our breaks between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you're working a normal day, typically. So take your breaks and don't be working through your breaks. That's really important.
You mentioned humans being the only species that deprive themselves of sleep. I observe my 2 cats here at home quite a lot, and they kind of go for 16 hours of sleep and maybe more, and about 6 hours awake and out doing things. But when they're sleeping, one sleeps on a beanbag and the other sleeps in any warm space it can get. They toss over, they turn around. They're even like they're looking after their comfort as they sleep. Like they will get up, stretch, and go back asleep again. They're really like, I think they're professionals. They're taking their sleep seriously, and we fall asleep with phone in our hand, going, "Is it on charge? Good night." And it's gone. And then we wake up and we're back on the treadmill, doing like not the exercise treadmill, but the treadmill of life, and doing something the next day. And even though everything's changed, and it has for me, in terms of I'm not working in an office now, I'm working at home. It's even busier. I'm taking less breaks. I'm running my lunch up to 2:30 is when it starts. And that's if I'm lucky. So I suppose eating would be important as well, is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Eating is, and you're right. Like when you say about the mobile phones and how our lifestyles are now, like where most people are working from home and we're spending a lot of time with the computers, and then obviously eating. So we're having more cups of tea during the daytime and cups of coffee. So caffeine is not great. Caffeine takes a long time to metabolize in the body. So that's the first thing to be mindful of. And then how we're eating. So there might be a lot of people that might eat while they're doing something on the computer. And really, you need to like treat having your lunch like a ritual. So you really need to be mindful of eating as well, and not eating while you're working, because that's a signal to the body, and you're supposed to be in a rest and digest state when you're actually eating. So your food will absorb in your body properly, and not when you're actually doing something. And the worst thing you can do is eat when you're stressed as well, because obviously that's kind of your digestive system is shut down to a certain extent. It's not operating on its full potential when you're stressed. So it's really important that you're stress-free and eating at ease.
And you're not a dietitian, but I'm sure that the food you do eat, we go for these snacks with sugars and salts that are probably not great for us. Are they going to kick into our bad sleep?
Yeah, well, I mean, sugar, absolutely. And there's a lot of people going for more refined foods and, the white carbohydrates and all that, and the sugary snacks, and particularly late at night as well, if we're working away. But yeah, the sugar is going to have a massive impact on your blood glucose. And for an awful lot of people who tend to wake up during the nighttime, blood sugar could be an issue. Because when you drop below your baseline, your cortisol is going to kick in, which is your stress hormone. And because we do need to have a certain level in our glucose in our system. And if your cortisol kicks in, that's going to wake you up. That is our wake up hormone. So we need to be mindful of all the foods that we're eating, sugary snacks, refined foods, all that type of thing, especially if you're eating chocolate and stuff like that at nighttime before you go to bed.
So we've had to look at, how to prepare ourselves by having a good, healthy day before we go to sleep. We touched on the technology. Maybe we'll come back to that. But where does it start when it gets to nighttime and you're going to go asleep? Should you go asleep as part of routine at a set time?
Yeah, the best thing, because the body likes rhythm and routine. So we do have this 24 biological clock. I know I keep talking about the circadian rhythm, and the circadian rhythm is really super important because we need to be aligned to this circadian rhythm. If you ever flown on a plane, a 10-hour journey or whatever, and got that jet lag. So it's exactly like that if we're out of routine with our sleep. So going to bed and getting up at the same time every day is really important, because it's our body. Again, it's routine. Our body's expecting that, and it's a cue then, and it's within the circadian rhythm. And it's especially more important to wake up at the same time because you're resetting that circadian clock. Your circadian clock has to be reset first thing every morning. And getting sunshine is really important first thing in the morning. But to come back to winding down before we go to bed at nighttime, slowing the body down, the heart rate, our body temperature, and our blood pressure, they all need to reduce down to enable the onset of sleep. So how do we do that? Well, we do things like, well, first of all, we need to get off the computers. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But we need to do things like read and take a hot bath, yoga, gentle stretching exercises, whatever it is for you. It could even be just knitting, just whatever it is for you that slows you down, that slows down the brain. To enable that onset of sleep. And usually that wind down would take about an hour typically. And it's the same for our children as well, especially like for everybody, we need to have this wind down routine.
One of my sleeping cats has just woken up, stretched and gone out the upstairs window onto the roof tiles to probably get some air, looking after itself yet again. So that wind down, really important how you do it, but I'm going to go to the phone in hand, the elephant in the room, the phone and the charger in the bedroom. uh, beside the bed, in the bed, and people looking into that screen, it's got to be all bad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely. And the majority of people do take their phones to bed with them at nighttime. And what's there's three things really that's going on with the mobile phone. First of all, it's a stimulant. It's a stimulant to the brain. So it's increasing levels of what's called dopamine, and dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain that actually increases this addiction. So you may find when you're scrolling on Facebook, you're not looking for anything in particular. You're just looking for, it's a seek and reward kind of a neurotransmitter, and it just keeps seeking for something. So dopamine, that's what addicts us to our phone. That's why it's very difficult for people to put the phone down. And then also you've got the blue light as well. So the blue light is going to suppress that melatonin, and melatonin is the sleep hormone. So it's really important. And for every hour that we're on our mobile phones with that blue light glaring at us, it's suppressing your melatonin levels by 30 minutes. And we need melatonin to keep us, not only just to get us asleep at nighttime, but to transition us through all the different phases of sleep during the nighttime and keeping us asleep during the nighttime as well. So that's the stimulant, the dopamine, the blue light, and that's those. Yeah, all those would have a massive effect.
So we didn't need mobile phones. We didn't have them in, let's say, 1993, 1992, 1991. We didn't have to have them in our hand at every waking moment, on every tweet and Facebook update and little red dot going, we've got another like or whatever it is. So we can leave that out. Let me put forward something that's in my head, that if we have this mixture and menu of bad habits that are going to lead to bad sleep, but we're still somewhat tired and we go asleep and we get 6-7 hours of sleep, but it's bad sleep, what's that going to do to us? That, like, we slept, but it wasn't great sleep.
Yeah, so you're talking about quantity of sleep there. So you may get the required hours in quantity terms, but quality sleep is not good. It's not good if you don't get the quality sleep.
How do you know if you've got the quality? Like, will
Well,
you
if
know?
you wake up in the morning and you've had your 8 hours of sleep, or whatever number of hours you normally have when you go to sleep at nighttime, if you wake up and you're feeling like really crap, your head is all foggy and you feel like you could go back to bed. So obviously, you're not refreshed. It's really when you wake up refreshed and you're ready to go for the day, that's when you know that you've gotten the required quality of sleep that your body needs.
So you wake up like that, bad, crappy, let's call it, and
Yeah.
and then there's this industry called the caffeine industry, and there's one
Yeah.
on every corner. Now, we can't just go down to a Starbucks nowadays, but there's machines in the kitchen that will whack out a coffee really quickly. There's this kind of caffeine then kind of chase that goes on all through the day. And is that their kind of supplementing the bad sleep?
Yeah. I mean, cup of coffee in the morning is okay, but not if you can't start your day without a cup of coffee. And some people literally, they cannot talk to you or take a phone call or do anything until they have at least a cup of coffee. So that's a bad sign. And then if you're taking the cup of coffee, it's going to lead to another coffee and another coffee, because that them effects are only going to, that's a stimulant. We know caffeine is a stimulant and it only lasts for so long. And when it goes low, then you're going to have that crash and you're going to need another cup of coffee to keep you going. So it's a vicious cycle. And the thing about caffeine is it takes a long time to metabolize. And so really what I say is to people is to have your last cup of coffee about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if you want it to metabolize them, because it takes that long for half of it to metabolize. So, if you have a cup of coffee at 8 o'clock in the evening after dinner or whatever, I mean, that's still in your system. Now, I've had people come to me and say, oh, I need a cup of coffee to get me asleep at nighttime. So I had to figure that one out, because I was a little bit perplexed about that. But there are some people who are addicted to coffee. So that's a different issue. They're addicted to the coffee and the caffeine, and they can't do without it. But for that person, if they have the cup of coffee before they go to bed at nighttime, there is proven, you can see it in sleep labs, that they're not getting the deep quality sleep that they need. And then they're starting the day again, the same thing, vicious circle. So that's what caffeine does.
The majority of things we've discussed are things that happen outside of the bed and even outside of the bedroom that are going to prepare you to get a good night's sleep. Is there anything about the bed part that, you're now in bed, and what can you do there with regard to, let's say, you don't feel like if I close my eyes I'll go asleep now. Should you get back up and do something until you feel like that, or should you stay in bed, and how should you practice? Like, is there anything you can do just lying there?
Yeah.
Count
Yeah.
sheep kind of idea.
No, counting sheep doesn't really work too well. But no, well, first of all, you have to create an association with your bed that, it's something that you're looking forward to, that you're going to get a good night's sleep. So first of all, if you can't go to sleep, say if it's taking you 20 minutes, half an hour, if it's taking you a long time to get asleep, the best thing to do is get out of bed and go and read or do something until you feel tired, because it's this association that's really important. Obviously your bed equipment, I call it. So you need to have a really good mattress and a good pillow as well. And even down to your pajamas or whatever that you're wearing, they need to be comfortable. You're spending a third of your life in bed, so you need your equipment, as I call it, to be quite effective. And then you also said, if you're lying in bed and you can't go to sleep at nighttime, what do you do? So there's a lot of people who would have anxiety at nighttime. It would pop up at nighttime. And this is because going back to all this busyness that we have during the daytime. So during the daytime, we're distracted, we have things to keep us going. And then at nighttime, we're lying down, there's nothing going on. So what happens? All the thoughts come into our head. And this is where all the anxiety comes from. So what can you do? There's a couple of things that you can do there. You can do your breathing. Breathing is very, very effective. Breathing can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calming part of the nervous system, helping you to fall asleep. Breathing is really, really effective, especially the deep belly breathing. That's a really good thing. But a hack that I like to use is to remember yourself to sleep. And what I mean by that is, when we're thinking of all these things that you have to do, or you're worrying about something or whatever, all these thoughts that are creating anxiety, you're doing that with this part of the brain here, which is the prefrontal lobe. This is your conscious brain. Now, if you remember yourself to sleep, so if you go back to a holiday that you had or some event that you had a good time, and you remember it and you recall it in your brain, you're accessing a different part of your brain. And it's the same part of your brain where your sleep centers are. So you're activating your sleep centers. So it's a little hack to remember yourself to sleep, as opposed to be thinking about everything tomorrow that you have to do or whatever. So that's probably the best.
Don't be thinking that spreadsheet and seeing that spreadsheet in your mind's eye. Go further back and start seeing the old films in the back of your brain that are places you went to when you were a little bit younger.
an enjoyable event. And it could have been something that day even, or something last week or whatever, something that brought, that you were grateful for, or, that made you happy. And gratitude is another great thing as well that you can do. Very simple, just something that you're grateful for, because it creates a high frequency in your body, where there's love or whatever. And it could be, your daughter or your son or whatever, your spouse, if you're not killing them at the time. but like that love, and it activates that. So, and when you're in a space of love and joy and gratitude, there's no room for worry and fear. So gratitude is a really good thing to do at the moment with everything that's going on.
Yeah, and be kind to yourself. You've written a book, and it's called How to Get a Good Night's Sleep. Did you write another book, or are you doing some courses or something at the moment?
I'm in the middle of doing another book. I'm starting another book, and it's really on my own story. And I've literally just started that. So that's going to be a longer journey, I think, and quite therapeutic as well. So I'm going to be sharing an awful lot about what I learned in my life as I went through my life. And so I'm really excited about that. And what we say online courses.
Are you doing anything yet? Because the book's out, and I'm sure people who haven't read it could. Everything we've been talking about and more are in the book, and you can read that. Maybe before you go to sleep each night, or maybe as you've got extra time at the moment. Can you get that on Kindle?
Yeah, it's howtogetaggoodnightsleep.com. And that webpage will give you the link. It's on Amazon as well. It'll give you the links into the Amazon where it is. It's on Kindle. And I am recording an audiobook. I am recording that in audio format. And that will be out in a few weeks' time. So I do have an offer at the moment. Anyone who buys the paperback will automatically get a copy of the audiobook as soon as it's out.
Brilliant. And I think you said something before about online courses. Have you got
Yeah. I have the 7-day sleep series at the moment, and it's boost your immune system with better sleep. So, fantastic program. It's like a mini course that's available at the moment, and you'll get that on my website. There's a short link as well, at bit.ly.com/sleep video series. So to get it on there, or to get it on my own main website, JoanneCallahan.com, you'll find the links to that. There's a special offer on at the moment for that. It's €15. And there's 3 different packages, but it starts at €15. So you can check that out there as well.
And maybe to conclude, what is your top tip, top 2 tips for people to kind of change their ways to get better sleep?
I think it has to be down to technology and mobile phones, really, because that's where we're having the biggest challenge, and especially right now at the moment, and Zoom, and everyone is on these conferencing calls. So my top tip would be, really being mindful of how much time you're spending on technology, because you have all this EMF radiation, which is bad for our health. It's an invisible radiation that we can't see, but it is very bad for our health. You need to turn off your Wi-Fi routers if you're not using them at nighttime. Turn your phones on flight mode, and preferably do not have your phone in your bedroom at nighttime, and do not charge anything in your bedroom at nighttime. That'd be my top tip.
Okay. Joanne Callahan, it's been a pleasure talking to you again and getting an update, because in this era, I suppose, maybe I did say final question, but with everything that's going on in the world, is there anything that we can kind of learn about how we value sleep in the world that we now live in?
When you get a good night's sleep, your brain function, your whole cognitive function, it is so much better. And it doesn't just only impact you; it impacts the people around you and the family that you're living with as well, your children. And I'm really passionate about children, because they learn from you and they learn from your behaviors. And if you're, a positive person, and you have a lot of stress resilience, and you'll get all that from a good night's sleep, and that's going to have an impact on your children. That's probably the greatest gift that you can give to yourself and your family as well.
Brilliant. Joanne Callahan, and I'll spell that JOHANN Callahan.com for the website. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Brian. It was incredible. Sleep well tonight.
Thank you. You too. My thanks to Joanne Callahan. JoanneCallahan.com is the address. The address I mentioned at the start of the programme is gov.ie/together. Give it a read. It's not very dense. It's very easy to follow. And there's some nice tips and information about minding your mental health. I'll be with you real shortly. It's Mental Wealth. Brian Greene, 103.2 Dublin City FM. Thanks for listening, and take care. Stay safe, stay in, stay sane by staying happy. Bye-bye.